Really cool stuff. All right, Aaron, thank you so much. It is 8:20. July, if you're unaware, is UV Safety Awareness Month. And while the summer sun may feel great, doctors say there are serious long-term health risks you need to be aware about. Skin cancer rates are climbing, and sunburns can create lasting effects. Dr. Mary Meir from Holland Hospital, Hudsonville, joining us now live here in the studio with what you need to know. Dr. Meir, thank you for being here. This is such an important topic. We hear about skin cancer, maybe loved ones that have it, maybe loved ones that were recently diagnosed. This is something we need to be paying attention to all year long, not just in the month of July. Why is that?
Because the UV rays are out all year round, and so even in December when it doesn't seem to be that warm out, you can have not sunburns but damaging effect from the sun, and so they do recommend wearing SPF all year round.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people that just put on that SPF as part of their normal skincare routine before they even walk out of the door. So yeah, it's very important to have that on your face.
Yeah, a lot of those daily moisturizers are right around like the 15 SPF. Can you speak a little bit to what those numbers really mean and what would be a good one to actually shoot for?
Yeah, so the numbers say how much protection they are giving you from the UV rays in the sun. And so they do recommend 30 or higher for your SPF, applying that 15 to 20 minutes before you go out into the sun, and then reapplying every 2 hours if you are going to be out in the sun long term.
Okay, let's talk about the skincare statistics right now. We have a graphic to pull up here. 9,500 diagnoses in the United States every single day, more diagnoses than any other cancers, and 1 in 5 are diagnosed by the age of 70 with some form of skin cancer. I mean, these numbers really do kind of paint a picture. The UV rays are on our skin all the time. So what are maybe the 3 main things you think people should be aware about, especially looking at these statistics?
I think that sun damage starts at an early age. And so a lot of times us as teenagers think we're fine, it doesn't matter, we don't need to reapply when our parents are telling us to. But having 5 or more sunburns, especially blistering sunburns in your teenage years, significantly increases your risk of skin cancer later in life. Unfortunately, we start having those damaging effects early on, and we won't notice them until later on in life. So you're getting the damage without realizing it. And so it's really important to be cognizant of that, and for parents to be cognizant of that with their kids. And so you want to make sure that you are staying out of the sun as much as possible, and if you are going to be out in the sun, wearing that SPF even at a young age.
Yeah, let's talk about parents and how they can handle that with their children, because it's one of those things that if you have a kid, you don't want to be rubbing them down with that sunscreen. Maybe they're squirming a little bit, putting up a fight trying to get that SPF on. As a parent, how should you handle that with your child when you are gearing them up to go outside?
I think first and foremost, it depends on their age, but when they're younger and you have a little bit more control over them, is keeping them out of the sun as much as possible. And so wearing sun protected clothing, long sleeve shirts, long pants that have a UPF rating on them, as well as keeping them in the shade as much as possible, umbrellas, things where you're not getting the direct contact from the sun. If they are going to be out there, they're playing sports, you're out at the beach, making sure you apply before you even get out to get at least that initial layer on, and then making sure, especially at the beach, they're out in the water, to reapply once they're out. Yeah,
good beach tips, because I know a lot of people have been spending a lot of time out at Lake Michigan this summer. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. We've talked a little bit about prevention, but what is actually happening on a skin level when we're talking about a sunburn? What is happening to the skin?
So it actually damages the cells on a cellular level. It's why you turn red. Some people get a little puffy as that's kind of dying down. The skin starts to flake off. You can get itchiness from it. And so the skin is then trying to heal itself, but there is some permanent damage that is there that then continues to grow underneath over the years.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have some misconceptions when it comes to a cloudy day. If we're outside and it's cloudy, the sun's not getting us, but it is.
Yes, it can be, especially on those days where if you hover your hand over and you still see a shadow, that is enough light that the UV rays are still hitting you.
Okay, yeah. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, so those are the days that are the most important, because like you said, people think, oh, I'm fine, and so they won't put on their sunscreen or they won't reapply, and those are usually the days we find ourselves, oh, we're burnt by the end of the day. day.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you're like pink walking in the house,
Yes,
and then in a couple days,
exactly.
yeah. You know, I think these are really good things to keep in mind. When we're talking about how often we should be reapplying sunscreen, what's a good rule of thumb just to keep in the back of our heads?
It seems like a lot, but every 2 hours. And even, you know, and then again, if you are sweating a lot, if you go into the water, whether that is the lake or a pool, you want to reapply when you get back out because a good layer of that has washed off.
Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb as well.
Yeah, extremely good to know. Now, there's other risks too associated with the sun and heat and sunburn in general. Can you speak a little bit to those as well?
I mean, with the heat in general, you obviously want to keep well hydrated because you can get overheated and have symptoms from that. But yeah, I mean, in addition to skin cancers, obviously there's a cosmetic appearance of having a burn, the uncomfortableness, feeling warm all the time when the skin starts to flake off. You obviously have that of, why is your skin flaking off?
Right.
What's going on? But also the itchiness that's associated with it. None of that is pleasant.
Yeah. How does skin, you know, by race, how does that factor into all of that?
That is a great question. That is also a big misconception that's out there, that if you have a darker skin tone that you don't need to be applying, or you need a lower SPF. That is still not true. People of all skin tones can get burnt, and it's going to look different in darker skin tones. And all skin tones can unfortunately get cancers, skin cancers as well. And so even from a young age, no matter what skin tone you have, you want to be applying the SPF 30 or higher.
Yeah, what age should we maybe start seeing our doctor to get checked for skin cancer cells? You know, is there a kind of a sweet spot, or, yeah?
There's not. I would say everybody should be doing skin checks. If you see a new mole that has popped up, or any type of skin lesion, whether that's a dark mole or a skin colored something that looks different, hasn't been there before, is growing rapidly, you want to come in and see your primary care provider for them to get it checked out. But especially if you have a family history of skin cancer, all of the people who have lighter hair color, lighter eye color, lighter skin tone.
You're speaking specifically to me,
yes,
it sounds like.
Yes, those people tend to be more at risk of getting a skin cancer. And again, not all skin cancers are melanomas where it's going to be that dark spot that we're looking for. There are other types of skin cancer that can appear as well.
Yeah, what are some of those other types of things that people should be looking out for skin cancer, but also if they just got back from a beach day and they think, oh, I'm kind of burnt, what are some of the red flags that might make them think that it might be a worse sunburn than just the typical one that they might have felt before?
If it starts blistering, probably within 24 hours, that's a worse skin burn, and then you want to be making sure that the redness from that doesn't start expanding, because there could be an underlying infection, so that you definitely want to come in and be seen for that. Otherwise, a lot of it is making sure that start putting aloe vera on it, stuff that's cooling it to help with the pain and the inflammation that's associated with the burns. But to the original question, the different other types of skin cancers include squamous cell and basal cell carcinomas. And a lot of times those can pop up, either look like a little pimple or look like just a little rough patch, but they don't go away. And they may not get bigger, but they don't go away after a couple of weeks. They stay for a couple of months, they may get bigger. That's definitely something you want to come in to get checked on.
Let's say we have a family member who we say, hey, we've noticed a little patch of skin on you, and they're a little stubborn about going to get it checked out. What would you say to maybe the family members or friends around that person to get them to just go and get it checked out and have some peace of mind at the end of the day?
Is just, again, as many people as you can to encourage them, especially if it's someplace that's readily visible, of just being like, hey, I noticed this and it hasn't really gone away. Have you gotten that checked out? And sometimes it's that nagging and get them to come in finally, or just express your concern of, you know, skin cancers are on the rise, and this is definitely something that I'm concerned about. And the earlier you catch a skin cancer, the better the success rate is at curing it. And if you let it go on, that's when you can have some complications. I
want to ask too, you just mentioned that skin cancers are on the rise. I think we've all kind of heard that statistic out there. In your own, in your experience as a doctor recently, have you seen that trend here in West Michigan with the patients that you've been seeing?
I will say I just moved back to West Michigan
Okay,
in
well, I mean,
January.
in general, though.
But in general, yes.
Okay.
I think unfortunately we're starting to see the effects from the 60s and 70s and 80s where definitely we're not concerned about skin.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've all seen the pictures of people who had the baby oil on
Yeah.
and were like tanning. Tanning beds were a huge thing in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and those definitely have increased the risk of skin cancer. And so yeah, we're definitely seeing and seeing more people that are aware of it and are coming in for skin checks, which is great.
Yeah, okay. One more thing. Of course, you are a doctor here. I know there are several skin doctors around our area as well. What would you recommend to somebody if they need to go get checked out? How should they go about maybe searching for somebody, a provider of that nature, and what should they need to keep in mind when they're looking for a doctor as well?
Yeah, definitely. I would say all primary care providers are well trained in spotting suspicious skin lesions. Most of them can do the initial assessment, and some of them will even be able to do, if they're like, oh, I don't like the look of that, be able to take that off, send that into a pathologist to get a look at it, and then if further things need to be done, to refer you to a specialist called a dermatologist. So I would say start with a primary care provider, and if you need one, just search in who's in network for you and who's in the area.
Yeah, okay, and of course we can find you at
Yes.
Holland Hospital in Hudsonville, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate your time and, of course, your expertise on this situation that we have seen a lot of pop up. So
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much.